The best of the best. Right across Australia. The best of the John Laws Week.
Another John Laws Week on the radio. You listen to the man with the golden microphone. You got it all. Right across Australia. There were laughs, there was news, and a tear or two. There were good vibrations coming right through to you. Through your radio. Right across Australia. This is what he said. This is what he did. This is why you laughed. This is why you cried. This is how Lawsy kept you in the know. It happened this week on the John Laws Morning Show. Right across Australia.
Have you ever parked your car in a metered zone and had to empty out your pockets for loose change to fill the meter, even though you're only going to be parked there for 5 or 10 minutes? Frustrating. And who wants to give the local council $2 or $3 for a pit stop? I was interested to hear that there's pressure being put on local councils to bite the bullet a bit, and instead of just booking anybody and everybody, they're saying install 15-minute free parking zones. It's local retailers that are missing out because customers know that the meters are just there as revenue raisers for the council. If you make parking free for 15 minutes, then both the customer and the business win. Only Sydney Council that currently does it is Leichhardt. Good on you, Leichhardt, and they've actually been doing it for a couple of years. But the New South Wales Business Chamber has come on board, and they're calling for all councils to adopt these 15-minute zones. Paul Ritchie is from the New South Wales Business Chamber. He joins me on the line.
Businesses do need turnover of spots, parking spots in front of their businesses, but at the same time, councils have really been gouging the trough too much in recent years. It optimises turnover, which businesses want out front in terms of the people in the spots. It gets people in and out. At the same time, it ensures local residents can avail themselves of a local parking strip.
You know the expression, there's life in the old dog yet. I'm not quite sure if it's the kind of expression I should be using about the Prime Minister. And I have the Prime Minister on the line. Prime Minister, good morning.
Good morning, John.
Can I use that expression?
People have used a lot worse over the years.
Just on these polls, on the Herald poll, which says voters are terrified of a Costello-led government.
But that's not a Herald poll. That's some mischief from the Labor Party. If you read the article, it's Labor Party private polling. Well, don't take any notice of that.
Can you rule out handing over to your treasurer if you win?
Well, I've said all along, and I'll repeat again, that I'll remain leader of my party as long as it wants me to, and it's in the best interest that I do.
What do you make of the Galaxy poll? It points to a much tighter contest than every other recent poll.
I've read it with interest. We have a big fight ahead of us, even if you took that poll as a proper measurement of public opinion, and the poll does have a good track record. We still have a long way to go. We're still clearly behind. All the other polls have been very negative, and we have a big fight ahead of us.
This is the best of the Lawsy Week.
As you know, Julia Gillard is the Deputy Leader of the Labor Party, and she's with me in the studio. Julia, good morning.
Good morning, John.
It seems that Australians are starting to become a little more comfortable with what it is that the Prime Minister has done and intends to do.
The polls are obviously bouncing around, and that's to be expected. Both Kevin and I have always said we expected the polls to tighten, and we expect to be in a real political contest each and every day between now and the election. I sense in the community that there is a mood for change, that people are thinking about the future of this nation, the next 10 or 20 years, but it's for Labor to be there arguing on the big issues for the future, painting that alternative for people and earning their trust. So we're not taking anything for granted, and we're not worrying about one poll here or one poll there. We're just keeping on with the job.
Dame Edna not only is in the building, but is in the studio. Dame
I'm
Edna,
here.
Yes, I hear that you've been giving as we have to say, Gillard a little advice in relation to...
I just bumped into her. It was so funny. I was coming along to see you. She looked a little bit shy when she saw me, as most people do. Did you like what she was wearing? I think she may have dressed in the dark, I thought. Well, no, I suppose you have to wear ordinary, inexpensive clothing, or the people who you want to elect, you will think you're wasting their money. So there was no sign of extravagance in what she wore.
No, certainly not. Well, let's try and get her into a skirt so she looks feminine.
Well, I think so.
But I suppose with a busy day climbing in and out of buses...
You do. The pants are handy. I never wear them, of course. I never do. I think I'm too feminine, John.
I think that could well be the problem.
I am.
Well, I mean, that's what's disturbed me for all these years. I was smitten the first time I saw you.
Do you realise, viewers, that I'm sitting in a studio with John Laws? I mean, the Lawsy, dripping with his signature bling. And I haven't allowed my eyes to meet his. I just can't look that man in the eyes without wishing that something wonderful might happen later in the day. Perhaps after a long lunch somewhere.
Lexi, are you there?
Hello.
Hello, Lexi.
How are you?
Very well, Lexi. Particularly, can you imagine, Lexi, sitting at a desk in a beautiful studio with your knees brushing the knees of John Laws?
No, I haven't
It's
thought of that.
very, very nice.
Lexi.
His old knees have remained unchanged. A lot of the rest of him has matured,
Lexi.
but his knees are as exciting as ever.
That's really good.
Dame Edna.
Lexi, what can I do for you?
Lexi's only
I just
15.
You're 15. Oh, John.
Well, I have to say it's been delightful to see you, but
And
it's
you,
always
John.
sad when you see I won't see you now for ages.
I haven't looked at another man since Norm died. I barely looked at him. And you are my ideal man, John Laws.
You know how to make a man feel good.
Thank you. And thank you, listeners, for having me at your place.
You're listening to the best of the Lawsy Week.
Has the Catholic Church gone nowhere in the 400 years since it excommunicated Galileo? Here's the head of the Catholic Church in Australia, a man with whom I have some difficulty. I don't know why, I've never met him. Cardinal George Pell, just what he says and the way he says it, I guess. Again threatening excommunication for those picking up on scientific advances. Why don't you stay away from politics? This fellow, George Pell, is threatening excommunication for the likes of the New South Wales Premier Maurice Yemmer and the Transport Minister John Watkins if they vote in favour of stem cell research when the legislation is debated in Parliament. You know, that's like blackmail. Fortunately, they've told Cardinal Pell to jam his archaic and irrelevant views up his cassock, and so they should. I thought people like George Pell were supposed to relieve human suffering, not prolong it by seeking to ban treatment that might cure juvenile diabetes or Parkinson's disease or motor neurone disease, the hideous thing that it is, or spinal cord injury of any sort. You'll remember he wanted to ban gays from the church as well, adding to the pain and suffering of homosexual Catholics. Didn't seem to bother him. And what about the separation of powers between church and state? You know, the phones would be running hot this morning if some Muslim cleric threatened politicians if they didn't vote the way he wanted. If you ask me, I'm starting to think Cardinal Pell and Sheikh Al-Ali might have a bit in common. Cardinal, so go and do churchy things, you know, light candles and stuff like that. Swing your little handbag round.
John Laws Week on the radio. You listen to the man with the golden microphone. You got it all. Right across Australia. There were laughs, there was news, and a tear or two. There were good vibrations coming right